Good morning. The end of chapter 35 is brought to you by my buddy Snoop Dogg. He is a member of the Wu Fang clan. He is one of 9 puppies that we are currently fostering, and he loves this book, and he's a good boy. Yeah, yes, he loves my beard. Okay. Yeah. Early the next week, Hitler invaded Norway and Denmark. It felt like England had lost a battle, even though I'd never so much as heard of Norway or Denmark before. As spring continued, Germany took over Holland and Belgium as well. Winston Churchill became England's new prime minister. The war, which had begun to feel like memories of our flat in London, hazy and unreal, suddenly came into sharper focus. Susan had always listened to the news on the radio each evening, but now Jamie and I paid close attention too. There still weren't bombs in London or anywhere else, but the Germans were much nearer to England than they had been. Everyone thought we would be invaded next. The Air Force built pillboxes around our airfield to defend it. The government gave us 7 rules. 1. Do not waste food. 2. Do not talk to strangers. 3. Keep all information to yourself. 4. Always listen to government instructions and carry them out. 5. Report anything suspicious to the police. 6. Do not spread rumors. And 7. Lock away anything that might help the enemy if we are invaded. Like what? Jamie asked. Guns? Yes, guns, Susan said. Lady Thornton, for example. Her husband had a whole room full of guns for hunting game birds. She'll need to hide those away. We haven't got anything here the enemy would want, Susan continued. We don't have anything dangerous or valuable. You aren't to worry, she said. Even if the Germans do invade, they won't hurt children. They didn't hurt the children in Norway or Holland. Somehow, this didn't make us feel better at all. The rumor in the village was that Holland had been full of German spies, sent in before the invasion to help it go smoothly. The spies were called Fifth Columnists. I didn't know why. Fresh posters went up on the wall by the station, reminding us that England too might be full of spies. Loose lips sink ships, the posters said. 26 ships had been sunk in March, 10 in April. It was fewer ships than earlier because now fewer ships were trying to get through the German blockade. Jamie started wetting the bed again. Susan marched him over to the airfield to talk to some of the soldiers, thinking they would reassure him. Instead, the men told Jamie that of course there were spies in England. They told him that children were often better than adults at noticing things and that he, Jamie, needed to act like a soldier and keep a good lookout. They told him to report back at once if he discovered anything unusual. I didn't think Susan expected the RAF to turn Jamie into a snoop, but anyway, he quit wetting the bed. The government asked all the men who weren't already in the army to become local defense volunteers. Stephen's colonel was angry that he couldn't join. A man shouldn't be useless at a time like this, he fumed. It's not your fault you can't see, I told him. We'd run into them at the library. Susan was picking out more books for me, and Stephen was looking for things to read to the colonel. What difference does that make, he said. I still hate feeling helpless. And the boy tried to join up. They wouldn't have him either. I looked at Stephen in alarm. How old are you? I asked. 13, he said. He dropped his voice to a whisper. I didn't really try to join. I just told him I did, so he wouldn't be disappointed in me. It's nearly a full-time job taking care of him. Who does he think would queue for the groceries if I had to go off and drill? The local defense drilled with broomsticks because they didn't have rifles. Stephen said the colonel had donated his guns when he fought in the Boer War. They were 50 years old and full of rust. Useless, Stephen said, but it made him feel better. We had to queue for groceries every day now. Meat was on ration and a lot of other things were hard to find. Onions were so scarce they might as well have been solid gold. No one had realized that all of England's onions were imported until they couldn't be imported anymore, and onions took a long time to grow from seed. Oh, I know. I know. In the middle of May, Hitler invaded France. The British Army had over 370,000 soldiers stationed there. They fought, and the French fought, but the Germans pushed them back and back. Then came June and Dunkirk. Later, people called it a miracle, but in our village, it felt like a disaster. And talk to your parents and see if they would be okay with it. But the movie Dunkirk is amazing. It's a really good story about a military disaster that actually ended up saving the country. So I will be back with chapter 36 tomorrow.